Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
So yesterday was a huge day for the prosecution. Trial day number 2 is when very pregnant Cassie Ventura took the stand. She happens to be the star witness for the prosecution and the ex-girlfriend of the man that has us all here today, Mr. Sean P. Diddy Combs. Cassie broke down into tears while testifying in Sean's federal sex crimes trial. Now, she described how he physically abused her and forced her into degrading sexual acts during their time together. Prosecutors argued that Combs lured women into romantic relationships, forcing them to take part in days-long drug-filled sex parties, and then blackmailed them with videos that were recorded during these sex parties to pretty much make sure he kept them in line. Now, we all know that he's facing sex trafficking, racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution charges, and he's pled not guilty so far. Yesterday, Cassie sat through 6 hours of grueling questions from the prosecution, but today she will be cross-examined by the defense. Attorney Xavier Donaldson seems to be the go-to guy for the defense when it comes to finding an attorney to poke holes in the prosecution's witness statement. Today, he will get his chance to do just that when he cross-examines Miss Cassie Ventura. So we are going to break down this whole day and find out exactly what's going to happen. Y'all, we are in for a long ride. Before we break all of this down, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this story and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So before we get into trial day number 3, let's first do some housekeeping and talk about some of the things that are going on behind the scenes in the courthouse. So yesterday there was a letter sent from Diddy's defense team to Judge Arun Subramanian, and in that letter they discussed key issues during the trial about whether witnesses, specifically Cassie Ventura and others, should be allowed to communicate with their lawyers while they are under cross-examination. So here's a brief breakdown. Defense argument is this: they asked the judge to forbid witnesses from discussing their testimony with anyone, including their lawyers, while they are being cross-examined. This is to prevent the witnesses from getting coached or changing their approach during the break in questioning. So why does this matter? Cross-examination is when lawyers try to poke holes in the witnesses' stories, and if the witness can talk to their lawyer in between, the defense says it gives them time to regroup, which could weaken the effectiveness of the cross-examination. Now, the specific concern they have regarding Cassie is that she was involved in a civil lawsuit against Diddy. Now, her lawyer from that case, Douglas Wigdor, is sitting during the trial with Cassie as well, and they are afraid that he could potentially influence her criminal trial testimony. The defense wants to stop her from discussing any parts of her testimony during cross to avoid issues with attorney-client privilege that could block fair questioning. So in layman's terms, they are trying to make sure that Cassie doesn't get mid-testimony help that could make their story stronger or harder to challenge, and they believe it's a basic fairness issue in a high-stakes trial. So Douglas Wigdor, who was Cassie's attorney representing her in her civil case against Mr. Sean P. Diddy Combs, wrote a letter to the judge last night, and he states that what Diddy's team is arguing is unfair and not legally necessary because the concerns in similar cases usually applies to criminal defendants and their trial lawyers, not to witnesses and their private attorneys. And he also says that he promises that they won't do anything unethical or try to influence her testimony. He also explains that Cassie needs to talk to her lawyers for reasons like court logistics, her health since she's very pregnant, protecting her rights, and matters related to her past civil cases. Lastly, he cites the Crimes Victims' Rights Act, saying Cassie deserves fairness, respect, and privacy as a victim. Also, there was a letter submitted last night to cancel or quash a subpoena that was issued for Clayton Howard, also known as Dave. He was another one of the, quote, sex workers for Diddy and Cassie. So both sides, the prosecution and the defense, must review the motion and Combs' response and agree on any redactions, blacked out sensitive parts by May 16, 2025. Now, Clayton Howard must also submit the subpoenaed materials to the judge privately in camera for review by that same day. So he does not have to appear in court, but he must turn over documents or other requested information for the judge to review in private. This doesn't necessarily mean he won't testify later, but for now the court just wants to see the materials first before deciding what happens next. Okay, so let's kick it off. Trial day number 3. Y'all ready? All rise. The judge says we have a note from a juror about a scheduling accommodation. It's not in the docket. What about Ms. Ventura's husband? Prosecution. He will be removed from the courtroom before a certain issue comes up. Judge. Good. Have privacy screens been installed? Prosecution. They are being installed by court tech staff. Judge. On the conferring with counsel issue, I tend to agree with Ms. Shapiro. Prosecution. What about conferring about questions about privilege? Diddy's attorney, Alexandra Shapiro. I'm concerned that during the breaks, there could be generalized discussions about the testimony and might come up. We are going to try to avoid any privileged communications. Prosecution. During Mr. Phillips' testimony, I spoke with his lawyer. We anticipate these witnesses being on cross-examination for multiple days. We need to speak with them about security and transportation. The judge says, Ms. Shapiro, can you draft something on a piece of paper and instruction you would have me give? Prosecution. The defense has sent us zip files of text messages. We are reviewing them before raising it. Judge says, I appreciate that. Prosecution Comey. The defense has still not shown us exhibits they may use in cross-examination of Ms. Ventura. We are worried this will continue. Diddy's attorney, Anna Marie Estavo. We are making several chains of text messages. They had these documents in their possession for 8 months before we got them. Judge says, we are here. We were told there's half a day left of direct. Could you give them at lunch? Defense, our paralegal is printing them now. Prosecution Comey. They should have turned over these exhibits to us on April 27th. Judge, Ms. Garagos handling this issue. We did have a schedule. As you marked them, why shouldn't you be required to turn them over? Mark Ignifilo, Diddy's attorney, says Rule 16 does not contemplate these carve-outs. We are not behind the 8 ball on this. We have complied with Rule 16. We don't think it's required, but we'll do it. Luckily, we have a sizable defense team, so we can do it. Judge Subramanian says you don't have to put it in a letter. You can just email me the cases and I'll look at them. We have a witness waiting in the back. Produce them before cross-examination starts. You can email me cases during the trial day. Let's get moving. Let's get Ms. Ventura back. Witness enters. Judge says, welcome back. All rise. Jurors enter. Judge Subramanian reminds Cassie that she's still under oath. Proceed. Prosecution says, may I approach the witness? Judge, you may. Prosecution. Ms. Ventura, I just handed you 2 drives. What is on them? GX8. Messages and photos from my devices. Yesterday, you testified about Sean going armed to look for Mr. Suge Knight. Sean took guns with him, and he told you to ask the escorts if they were cops. I would begin by saying I was not a cop. Oh, and Sean told you to do that? Yes. What happened when you fought back? I did that more earlier in the relationship. It would make him more violent, want to push me harder. Defense says objection to the speculation. Judge says overruled. How would Sean react if you fought back? Anger. Okay, Ms. Ventura, I'm going to show you the LA Intercontinental Hallway again. Play from 1 minute and 43 to 1 minute and 46. Who enters? Sean. What's in his hand? He doesn't appear to have anything. Okay, let's go to 1 minute and 59 seconds. Now, anything in his hand? My phone. How did he get it? Well, he took all my stuff. Where does he end up? Sitting in a chair in front of the window. What are you doing? I'm walking away from him. Now who's in this video? Me and security. In this one, play from 5 minutes and 31 seconds. Where did you go from the hotel? To my house. I took an Uber. Now let's turn to text messages. Can you read page 4? Please, I'm surrounded. And who sent that? It's from Sean. He was running around in a towel. I told him to put a robe on. Who sent these green messages? I did. I wrote to Sean. Jules left. As long as you're quiet, you can stay. Peace. Who's Jules? An escort. Is this Jules? Yes. B606 and 607, side by side. Cassie in big sunglasses. Ventura says, that's me, a selfie of me with a fat lip. When did you take it? In the Uber with one of my phones. Okay, Miss Ventura, and what did you write here? I said, please stay away from me. And what does he say? He says, I'm getting arrested. Now the jury is seeing text messages between Combs and Ventura in the aftermath of the hotel assault. Now he repeatedly texted her to call him. I got 6 kids. Please call me. He texted her, I'm surrounded, though it is unclear what he meant at the time. Ventura responded that she spoke with security and warned him not to disturb other guests. What did you write back? Plugging my phone in and going to bed. Who was at your home when you got there? Carrie Morgan, she was upset. She saw me. She called the police. Did you speak with them? Yes, but I didn't say who I was talking about, and they left. Why? I wasn't ready. Did Sean try to come out to your apartment? Cassie says that she heard chaos outside of her door, which included banging, kicking, and yelling. Did you hear from Miss Coram, Christina Coram, that day? Yes, and I went to see D-Rock and his wife to try to feel safe. Did you want to protect Sean? Of course. Later, after leaving D-Rock's house, she then goes to Combs' house to do a fitting for her upcoming movie premiere. The jury saw a photo of her in the gown she wore to the event. She was in sunglasses, she says, to cover up her black eye. The movie premiere that Cassandra Ventura was attending was for a romantic comedy she starred in called The Perfect Match, which was 2 days after the hotel assault. The jury sees a photo of the couple at the after party, and Ventura points out the bruise on her right shin. Okay, Miss Ventura, I'm going to show you escorts. Do you know the name of this person? No. In what cities did you use him? New York. Who's this? Islander. He was on Latin Men. We used him in LA and maybe Vegas. Who's this? Number 2A616. We called him Tommy. Who is this? I know him as Greg, an escort in Miami. Who's this? Jonathan. We saw him in Miami. Who's this? Red baseball cap backwards? I don't know. He looks familiar from the Freakoffs. So they're going through all of these different escorts. They're currently on number 13. And she said that these men were hired typically on a website called Cowboys for Angels, which advertises that it provides male companions. Now, Ventura is identifying these different escorts by their name. There's an Ash, Tommy, Greg, and a man known as Islander. But there's also ones that she does not recognize by name, but only by face. Okay, Miss Ventura, going back to the text, what did you write here? This is all we do. I'm just getting back on track. I'm sure you can call Kim or something. What did you mean by this is all we do? Freakoffs. Is there anything you tried to avoid during the Freakoffs? I tried to avoid kissing. It seems too intimate. But Sean told me to do it, to kiss the escorts. The prosecution shows a text thread from Sean Combs to Cassie about their freak-offs. He suggested that they have a proper freak-off without the drugs ketamine involved. He wrote that a successful freak-off was when we remember. I won't bring up again until you are in the mood, he wrote, suggesting that when she was, he would fly in a man known as Dave. Now, as you recall, we spoke earlier about Dave. He's also known as Clayton Howard. He was subpoenaed, but then they quashed it. But he does have to send over subpoenaed materials to the judge privately on camera. What did Sean ask you to do on your 29th birthday? A freak off. He had me pulled out of the Blind Dragon. Some security. What about blackmail material? He wanted me to fear. Defense says objection. Judge says overruled. When would Sean mention the freak-off videos? To hurt me. One time I was dating someone else and he threatened to release the freak-off videos. He said, I'm going to release 2 embarrassing videos of you. I'd have to answer to my mother. It was horrible and disgusting. No one should do that to anyone. What did Sean say the impact would be? Shame. Let me show you a chat. Who's on it? Me and Sean, July 23rd, 2013. Read your message. Please delete. Too many people have access to your stuff. He responded that he deleted them, but she said there were times in their relationship when she saw videos still existed and she thought they had previously been deleted. Prosecution asked for a sidebar and the judge says yes. So at 11:10 a.m., the judge takes a break to change some things in the courtroom, but during that break, Combs sits at the defense table with his lawyer, Xavier Donaldson, leaning down to speak to him. Now, I've nicknamed Xavier Donaldson the hole puncher because that's exactly what he does. When I hear him speak, all I can hear is,
but you bought the bottle of beer, definitely, at 12:15. Now you see now, you done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
So now we're back from break. Prosecutor Johnson says there's still some issues with privacy screens, so we'll put that off and do something else now. Judge says, okay, welcome back, Miss Ventura. Bring in the jury. Jury enters. Prosecutor Johnson says, I offer more exhibits. Okay, Miss Ventura, so what did you say here? I'd been told there was a sexually explicit video out there about me. I reached out to Sean. Then what? We were driving back to NYC from Atlantic City to talk to this DJ, Woo Kid. Did that happen? At a restaurant? What was security's role? To intimidate. They were lining the room. Who was there? Uncle Paulie, James Cruz. So to reiterate, Cassie saw DJ Woo Kid at a party in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and he told her that he saw a sexually explicit video involving her. Diddy said, this is crazy. Do not let him out of your sight. This is via text. Okay, moving right along. So Cassie, how would you recover from these freak-offs? I take opiates. I wanted to feel numb. We get massages, IV fluids. The chef would cook us something. Well, how often did you take the opiates after freak-offs? Often. I got urinary tract infections. Were the UTIs painful? Very. Antibacterials didn't work anymore. How did it feel during freak-offs? Burning. I would not advise it. Let's read this out loud. Okay. I have all these sores on my tongue. I have another UTI. What sores? Friction in my mouth? From what? Oral sex? You said another UTI, then the sad face emoji. I was open with him about them. Diddy says, so you feel sick? He expressed sympathy in the text message by saying, I'm sorry. She says, why are you sorry? I took the blame for things. Prosecution said, which escort would go to sex clubs with you and Sean? Jules, the escort from the Intercontinental in LA? Yes. Did you want to have sex with Jules ever? No, but I knew him. Why did you do it? Sean, who was present when Sean put hands on you at Freakoffs? Sometimes the escort was there too. In the same room? Yes. Jules. And in the suite? Yes. Were they aware? Objection. Judge says overruled. Cassie testified that there were times that Sean Combs would put hands on her during the freak-offs with male escorts. He would grab me up, she says, push me down, hit me on the side of my head, kick me, you name it. Sometimes the escorts were close by and were aware of the physical abuse. Cassie also testified about an instance of abuse in 2013 when she was with two of her friends in her apartment before traveling to a music festival. Sean Combs entered and began yelling about her sleeping on the couch rather than packing. Where were you going? To a music festival in Canada run by Drake. Sean came to my home and tried to attack me. She says that when Combs moved to attack her, her friends jumped on his back. Despite the altercation, Combs threw her down and she cut her eyebrow on the corner of her bed. What's this? A photo of my eye afterwards. Who took you to the doctor? D-Rock. Afterwards, Combs had security bring her to a plastic surgeon's office in Beverly Hills to suture the gash. She says she later texted him a photo of the injury and she wrote, so you can remember. Combs responded to her text and said, you don't know when to stop. You have pushed it too far and continue to push. Sad. Cassie said the escorts would ask me if I was okay afterwards. Prosecution, in what city did he put hands on you? New York, LA, Miami. How frequently? Too frequently. What's the Abbey? A gay club in LA? I went there with my friend. Okay, Cassie, and in this photo, where were you? In the green room in Toronto. I put my hair over my eye. Then we went to the Hamptons. Sean wanted to have a freak off in the Hamptons. We got a hotel and an escort. Which one? Dave. I took GHB. I went into the G-hole and blacked out. I woke up nude in the shower. Dave and Sean were freaking out. I bugged out. It wasn't pretty. Then what? I spoke to a friend of Sean's and then we had a freak off. What's this? My eyebrow healed up a little bit. A week later, I had a permanent scar on my eyebrow. What's this? Me at the Cannes Festival. What happened at Cannes? Sean accused me of taking drugs from his boat. He threw me off, but my passport was still on the boat. And you were on the red carpet that same night? Yes. Did you attend the movie? Yes. How did you get back to New York? On a commercial flight, I traded my seat to get away, but he traded to get next to me. What did he show you? Freak off videos. He played them for me on one of his laptops. He said he'd release them. How did you feel? Trapped? When you landed in New York, what did you do? We went to a dinner. Then he wanted to have a freak off. So we had a freak off. Why did you do it? To make him not threaten me. Okay, let's read these from June 13th, 2013. Had Sean been violent with you before that? Yes. Had you told him before you didn't want to do the freak offs? Yes. You said you needed GHB? Yes, and that 2 escorts were not available. I wrote only Paul available or Jake, the white guy, but he can't do it until 11. The other guy can do earlier. It's just one more person knowing our secret. What did you mean? The Freakoffs. What's SLS? A hotel in Hollywood. When would you take Valium before a Freakoff? When I had anxiety, Sean's driver was bringing me the Valium. It was Raheem, I think. Judge tells the jurors they can go ahead for their lunch break and the jurors leave. So they do more talking. They start talking about victim number 4, known as Mia. We will get into that tomorrow. Let's get back to Cassie. So at 1:53, lunchtime is over. All rise. Judge says, as to Exhibit 619, the objection to the defendant's proposal is overruled. Let's have Ms. Ventura back, then we'll bring in our jury. The jury enters. Prosecutor Johnson says, I have a binder for the court. The gallery will not be able to see those exhibits. Ms. Ventura, I will show you some exhibits 2A-404. Who is it? She worked for Sean. Prosecution says, okay, we're going to call her Mia. So Cassie is still identifying still images from freak-off videos of herself having sexual contact with Jules, Dave, and Greg, 3 of the escorts that have been referred to in her testimony. She says the images were taken from videos and they were saved on electronic devices that she believed were broken, but she turned over to the government as potential evidence. When you gave your devices to the government, were they working? She says no, they were broken. Prosecution says put up 602-A for Ms. Ventura and the jury only. What's on your skin? She says oil. According to Cassie, multiple employees of Combs witnessed him abusing her over the years, including members of his security team, management, and assistants. At least one assistant told her they quit because of the way Combs treated her. When did Sean first hurt you physically? It started in the first year. What staffers were present when Sean was physical with you? Objection, says defense. Physical is vague. Prosecution says punching, hitting. When did Sean first use violence on you? In New York City, we were in a car with his security and he knocked me around. What did he do? He hit me in the side of the head. I fell to the floor of his Escalade. So Cassie said around 2007, 2008, they were at a group dinner and she noticed him flirting with someone else. When they got in the Escalade, she said he knocked her around and he was just being really mean in front of the security and the driver. Combs hit her on the side of the head, which sent her flying to the floor of the vehicle. Cassie admitted that there were times when she did initiate physical fights with Combs during times of their relationship, but that he was not injured by her during those incidents. However, she says when he was physical with her, they would often require days of hiding out to recover from. Now, Cassie testifies about another time she was stomped on and beaten by Combs. Ventura recalls being made to hide out at a hotel for a week so her visible wounds could heal. Ventura, who had punched Combs after he called her a slur, wanted to go home to her mother, she says, but knew she was not allowed and it wouldn't be safe. So to give context on him calling her a slur, in January 2009, she attended an event in LA with Sean. Prosecution asked, and what happened when you left? I'd be speaking to a producer about music. Sean called me a slut. I hit him in the face. I had been drinking. Did you see any injuries? No. I was on the floor of the car and he stomped me in the face. How long did this last? 10 minutes. Then I tried to get away, but Sean's security brought me back. Who? Roger Bonds. What did they tell you? To go to a hotel. They snuck me into the hotel, covered up so no one could see my face. How long were you at the London hotel? A little over a week. An assistant brought me ice cream. What was that assistant's name? Genevieve. Did you feel you could leave the London hotel? No, I understood his capabilities, his access to guns, the threats he made. Did you know this assault incident was reported? I know there was a blind item on the internet without our names. Who raised the blind item to you? My mother. Objection. Not for the truth. Overruled. Later, Ventura's mother shared a so-called blind item in the online gossip press recounting the details of the assault, asking if it was referred to her by Combs. I didn't tell my mom the truth because I was ashamed, Ventura says. I also didn't want to put my mother in danger for knowing anything of this magnitude. Ventura also recalls going to a party in Los Angeles where Prince was supposed to perform a few years into her relationship with Combs. She went with girlfriends, she says, but had not asked Combs for permission to attend because she was scared he would say no. When Combs showed up at that party, I ran out as fast as I could to the front yard. I knew he was going to be angry at me. Later that night at a hotel, Combs beat her up and threw luggage at her. In 2011, Combs discovered by looking through her phone during a freak-off that she had begun dating the rapper Kid Cudi. So in her phone, Sean saw an email to Kid Cudi. Prosecution says about what? Taking my toiletry bag to Kid Cudi's house the next day. He became enraged and lunged at her with a wine bottle opener. She fled the freak-off. Upset to find out that she and Kid Cudi had been dating, Sean Combs threatened to hurt them and released 2 explicit freak-off videos in Ventura. So that night, she called Kid Cudi on a burner phone. Prosecution says, where did you go? I went to Kid Cudi's house. Then I talked with Capricorn Clark, one of Sean's assistants. Then what? She went back to Sean's house in fear of these freak-off videos being released, and when she got there, he kicked her in the back and she had bruises. Where'd you go? To my hotel with the burner phone. The room was tore up. It had been trashed with urine and feces in the bathroom, and the furniture was in disarray. I sent an email to my mom and Capricorn from my flight to Boston and Connecticut. What did you write? That Sean said he would release the tape of me on Christmas and he'd have Kid Cudi and I hurt, and that he would be out of the country when he has it done. So Cassie, what are these photographs? My mother took these in Connecticut of the bruises on my back. Were you entirely honest with your mother about the abuse? No, I said this was the first time. Did you tell her about the freak-offs? Is it possible to take a break? The judge says yes. It's time for break. So 3:09, we're back from break, and the judge says, Miss Johnson, any estimate? Miss Johnson says, an hour more. The goal is to finish the direct and allow the start of cross-examination today. Judge says, bring the witness and then the jury back in. So Cassie, did anyone come to see you in Connecticut? Scott did for a few days. Scott is Kid Cudi. I broke it off with him. It was too dangerous. Objection, says defense. Judge says overruled. Sean said he would hurt both of us. So where did you go after Connecticut? I went to see Sean. He was in Arizona. His son was in college. I told my mother I was going to LA for work. Did Sean talk about Kid Cudi's car? Sean said he wanted Kid Cudi's friends to see Kid Cudi's car blown up. So what happened next? We met Sean, Kid Cudi and I, and Cudi said, what about my vehicle? Sean said, what vehicle?
What bike? That's my bike, Pop!
And that was the end of that meeting. Okay, so let's put up our next photo. Cassie, what is this? Me and Sean in Kingston, Jamaica for a sound clash. Were you bruised? Yes. And this photo, what is it? Me in Sean's bathroom, September 18, 2015. What were you doing there? Recuperating from being beaten up by Sean in Vegas. We were having an after party in our suite. I was talking to a producer and Sean tapped me on my shoulder, called me into the room and beat me, kicked me, and I tried to hide behind the toilet. What stopped it? D-Rock and James Cruz came in. It made D-Rock sad. What are these communications? From D-Rock to me, he says, where you at? It's time to ice your face. Why? I had just been beaten up by Sean. So were these all the times he beat you? No, there were more. So who else did you see Sean get violent with? I saw him drag an assistant out the bed. I saw him punch Eli or Ellie in the head one time in Turks and Caicos. He dragged a person. I believe we had a freak off in Turks and Caicos. What floor did you live on in 875 Comstock? On the 17th floor. Did a friend stay with you? Yes, Sean came and held her and threw her on the patio furniture out on the balcony. I saw Sean bring her back in from over the balcony, then throw her on the patio furniture. In Carrie Morgan, I saw Sean hit her in the head. Did you get drugs on your own? Occasional drug dealers, opiates, Xanax, Valium. Sean would put the pills in a vitamin C bottle on the sink in the New York apartment. He said you could take them. He had doctors who would write the prescriptions in the name of an assistant or in my name. Your brother's birthday party in Connecticut in 2013. What happened? My mother told me someone was taking pictures of me. I went and punched her in the head. You testified your relationship with Sean ended in 2018. How was your health? I was sleepwalking. I had PTSD. Defense says objection. Judge overruled. What's this? A photo of my front door in 2018. Prosecution says publish it to the jury. Why is there a knife there? Sean was coming around a lot, so I had it. Prosecution says August 2018. What happened? We were having a closure conversation at a restaurant in Malibu. He was trying to convince me to go to Burning Man. Were you seeing anyone? My now husband. What happened next? Sean came to my house and he AR'd me on my living room floor. His eyes were black. It was like taking something from you. You cried. What did Sean do? He continued and finished inside me. Then he got up and left. Did you ever have sex with him again? Yes, voluntarily. We had a good night. I went back to his house. Can you explain why you did that after he AR'd you? We had been together for 10 years. Who did you stay in touch with? Most people, though I pulled away. What did you message Sean about after this? Just checking in. What did he send you? That he had iPads full of images? Get him his money? Money back from what? For having paid for my now husband to be my trainer? What did you write back? Do you want me to tell the truth? It's much deeper than iPads. There was abuse. More than freak-offs. There was times I couldn't take the pain. I tried to walk out in traffic. My husband wouldn't let me. I had trauma therapy. Did you write a book with chapters? My mom helped. What did you want with the book? That Sean would read it. What pain did Sean put you through? Shame. To carry the things that were shameful for him. I took on a lot of responsibility for that I never should have. He brought the concept to me when I was 22. It was expected of me. I felt terrible. How did you get chapters to Sean? Through my attorney. I reached out to KK and I asked her if he read it. She said it was not taken seriously. How much did you ask for the book? $30 million. Did you sue? November 2023. What happened with the lawsuit? It settled for $20 million in 24 hours. Why are you testifying in this trial? I can't carry this anymore. What's wrong is wrong. I treated people like they were disposable. Escorts, anybody. How many freak-offs did you have with Sean? Impossible to know. Hundreds. After you broke up with Sean, did you ever do a freak-off again? No. No further questions. Sidebar before cross. Judge says yes. Judge says, why don't we put off the cross until tomorrow? Prosecutor Johnson said, we like to start now to be sure to finish. Prosecutor lady, if you don't sit down, this lady is pregnant and tired. Let her go home. The judge says, Miss Estavo, who happens to be one of Diddy's attorneys, Estavo says she will be finished by the end of the week. Judge says, so no cross today. Judge Subramanian says, we'll just make up the time in other ways. Get the jury. The jury comes back in. The witness can be excused. Judge says yes. The jury is entering. Judge Subramanian says, sorry to bring you out, only to send you home. Don't read anything about the case. Have a great evening. All rise. Jury exits, and the judge says, Miss Comey with the prosecution says, we believe we had agreed that other sexual acts by the witness were not admissible, but we understand they intend to cross-examine her about other relationships with texts about sex and Miss Ventura effing someone else. Why is this necessary? I don't want to read these into the record, so I'll hand copies up. Judge says, defense. Mark Nifolo, head attorney for Diddy, says, these are messages about jealousy. In the vocabulary of, are you effing that person? That's fair game. This is the real world way people express hurt. Comey says the rule requires that this be sealed. Judge says, let's proceed without specifics. Ignifilo saying, are you effing that person is just a vulgar way of asking, are you cheating? Both sides open on infidelity. This is not 412. Judge says, we could do it in the robing room. Prosecution says the defendant would have to be present. Judge says, so in the courtroom. Sealed. Prosecution says counsel for victim 1 would like to be heard. Judge says, I see his hand, Mr. Wigdor. We are entitled to notice, Mr. Wigdor says. Judge says, so tomorrow morning, adjourn. So that's all for today, folks. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think about everything Cassie had to say on the stand today. And you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. But before you go, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.